We often chase the next strategy, the next habit, the next book or course, hoping it will fix our problems. But what if I told you that it's not about what you do, it's about how you think? Because the greatest transformations in life don't begin with action. They begin with a shift in thought. If you want to change your life, change the way you think. It's the one skill that changes everything. The root of the problem: most people think on autopilot. They react, they assume, they follow. They're not thinking, they're repeating. And repetition without awareness breeds stagnation. The reason many people stay stuck is not because they're lazy or talentless. It's because their thinking is untrained. They've never been taught how to think critically, creatively, or courageously. But here's the truth: your results in life are a reflection of your thinking. Bad thinking leads to bad decisions. And bad decisions, repeated often enough, create a bad life. Correct thinking is the foundation of every life change, because everything we do begins in the mind. Before you ever take a step, speak a word, or make a decision, a thought is formed. That thought becomes the seed from which your actions, habits, and ultimately your results grow. The way you think determines the way you behave, and the way you behave determines the quality of your life. If your thoughts are weak, negative, scattered, or reactive, your results will reflect that. But if your thoughts are clear, focused, intentional, and grounded, you begin to see a completely different outcome, one built on strength and direction. Most people try to change their lives by focusing on external things: routines, habits, systems, even other people. But what they don't realize is that all of those things are downstream from thought. You can wake up earlier, read more books, hit the gym every day, but if you don't fix your thinking, you will always hit a ceiling. You will sabotage your progress without realizing it. That's why people so often revert back to old patterns, not because they lack discipline, but because they never upgraded the thinking that drives their behavior. Thinking correctly doesn't mean being blindly positive. It doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending life is easy. It means developing the mental discipline to see things for what they truly are, not just what you fear they might be. Correct thinking is about accuracy, not avoidance. It's about asking better questions. What's really happening here? What am I missing? What are the facts, not just my feelings? It's about moving from emotional reaction to intentional response. When your thinking is correct, your perspective shifts. You stop playing the victim and start seeing opportunity. You stop wasting energy on blame and start taking responsibility. You begin to separate fact from fiction. You become less impulsive, more strategic. You stop making decisions based on short-term comfort and start making choices that align with long-term vision. You no longer live from reaction, you live from intention. This shift changes everything. It changes how you show up in relationships. It changes how you handle failure. It changes how you approach work, risk, fear, and uncertainty. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of panicking under pressure, you become more grounded. Instead of avoiding discomfort, you lean into it, knowing it's the price of growth. Thinking correctly also gives you clarity. When your thoughts are scattered, your life feels chaotic. You don't know what to prioritize or how to move forward. But with correct thinking, confusion fades. You know what matters. You know what your values are. You know what your next step should be. And when life inevitably throws challenges your way, you respond with resilience, not reactivity. People often underestimate the power of thought because it's invisible. You can't see it on the outside, not right away. But over time, the quality of your thinking creates a pattern. That pattern becomes your character, and your character builds your future. So if you truly want to change your life, not just temporarily, but permanently, don't start with your habits. Start with your thinking, because when the mind is right, the actions will follow. When your thoughts are correct, your life begins to correct itself. Everything begins to align, everything begins to shift, because correct thinking is not just helpful, it's the foundation of every lasting transformation. It's the one invisible skill that changes everything you can see. Most people go through life reacting to whatever comes their way. They wake up, check their phone, see a message that stresses them out, and immediately their day is shaped by that one notification. Someone cuts them off in traffic, and they explode with anger. A coworker says something offhanded, and it ruins their mood for hours. They don't pause, they don't process, they simply react, and the dangerous thing is, they think that's normal. But reaction is not the same as thought. Reaction is instinctual, it's emotional. It's often rooted in fear, insecurity, or habit. Real thinking, on the other hand, is slow. It's intentional. It takes a moment to ask, what's really going on here? Reaction is automatic. Thinking is conscious. And most people spend their lives on autopilot, never realizing how deeply their lack of true thinking is affecting everything: their decisions, their relationships, their mental health, even their identity. One of the biggest misconceptions is that being busy equals being thoughtful. Just because your mind is active doesn't mean it's thinking clearly. Most of the time, the mind is just spinning, caught in loops of judgment, worry, assumptions, and unexamined beliefs. We ruminate over things that already happened or stress about things that haven't even occurred. That's not thinking, that's mental noise. And it's that noise that drowns out clarity, creativity, and wisdom. Here's the truth: you can't build a meaningful life based on reactions. Reactions are survival-based. They're rooted in the past. They're shaped by old stories, old pain, and unconscious conditioning. When you're in reaction mode, you're not responding to reality. You're responding to your interpretation of it, and often that interpretation is flawed, outdated, or incomplete. You snap at someone not because of what they said, but because of a wound you haven't healed. You hesitate to take a risk not because the situation is dangerous, but because you've been conditioned to avoid failure at all costs. Thinking, real thinking, requires you to step back and observe your mind. It means catching yourself in a moment of reaction and saying, wait, is this true? Is this useful? Is this the best way to respond? It means being humble enough to question your own assumptions and courageous enough to sit in discomfort without immediately trying to escape it. Most people avoid thinking because it's hard. It forces you to confront parts of yourself you've been ignoring. It requires emotional discipline. It's far easier to just react, to do what's familiar, to blame others, to protect your ego. But that ease comes at a cost. It costs you your growth. It costs you your peace. It costs you your potential. When you begin to truly think, you stop being a slave to circumstance. You stop being a puppet pulled by strings you can't see. You gain awareness, you gain freedom, because now you're choosing your response instead of being controlled by your triggers. You're leading your mind instead of being led by it. And here's the most powerful part: once you learn to think instead of react, you begin to make better choices. You choose not to argue over things that don't matter. You choose to see from the other person's perspective. You choose to wait before speaking, to listen more, to understand before jumping to conclusions. These small choices compound. They lead to better relationships, better health, better leadership, and ultimately a better life. The difference between people who grow and people who stay stuck is simple. The ones who grow think . The others just react, and the longer you live in reaction, the more life feels out of control. But when you train yourself to pause, to reflect, to respond intentionally, you take your power back. And that, in the end, is the beginning of true freedom. Correct thinking is often misunderstood as simply being positive, but that's a shallow interpretation of what real thinking is. Being positive is easy when things are going well. It's comfortable to repeat affirmations and smile through life when the path is smooth. But what happens when things fall apart? When the pressure mounts, when the disappointment hits, when reality gets messy? That's where correct thinking separates itself from blind positivity, because it's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about building something useful and honest from whatever is in front of you. Positive thinking says everything will be okay. Correct thinking asks, what can I do right now to make it better? One is passive optimism. The other is active problem solving. One waits and hopes. The other steps forward even in uncertainty. Blind positivity tries to shield you from discomfort. Constructive thinking invites you to confront it, not because it enjoys pain, but because it understands that growth lives on the other side of challenge. There's a huge difference between thinking that ignores reality and thinking that engages with it. Correct thinking doesn't deny fear or frustration. It doesn't suppress emotions. Instead, it acknowledges them without allowing them to lead. It looks at the situation and asks where is the opportunity in this setback? What is this teaching me? What's the next right move? It's grounded, rational, and hopeful all at the same time. Positive thinking can become a form of denial. You tell yourself it's all good, even when it's not, and that creates a dangerous gap between reality and your perception. When you ignore what's actually happening, whether it's a toxic relationship, a financial problem, or a lack of purpose, you don't grow, you stall. And the longer you stall, the more pain compounds. Correct thinking doesn't sugarcoat reality. It sharpens your ability to see clearly and respond wisely. This kind of thinking is rare, not because it's inaccessible, but because it requires maturity. It requires the strength to admit when something isn't working, not with despair, but with determination. Constructive thinking embraces ownership. It doesn't ask, why is this happening to me? It asks, what can I learn? What needs to change? How do I become better from this? That's not toxic positivity. That's mental leadership. Correct thinking is also deeply practical. It's not about inspiration alone. It's about application. When you think constructively, you stop wasting energy on what you can't control and double down on what you can. You don't spend your time hoping people will change. You focus on changing your response. You don't get trapped in overthinking. You create options and move. It's solution-oriented, not problem-obsessed. Another key part of correct thinking is perspective. You realize that most situations are not entirely good or bad, they're complex. There's always nuance. And when you think constructively, you become capable of holding multiple truths. You can say, this hurts it's helping me grow. This setback is frustrating it's forcing me to become more resourceful. That level of thinking makes you more emotionally intelligent, more balanced, and more resilient. Constructive thinking also trains you to stay calm under pressure. When you don't need everything to be perfect in order to move forward, you become incredibly adaptable. You can operate in uncertainty. You can lead others through chaos. You can continue progressing even when things aren't ideal. That's the true power of correct thinking. It keeps you moving. It keeps you grounded in progress, not stuck in perfectionism or denial. In the end, correct thinking isn't about always feeling good. It's about doing what's good for your growth. It's about using your mind not as an escape, but as a tool to build something stronger, something wiser, something that lasts. Because positivity may make you feel better in the short term, but constructive thinking, that's what changes your life. Mastering your thinking doesn't happen all at once. It's not a switch you flip. It's a process you move through. There are levels to it, stages that deepen as you grow in self-awareness and intentionality. Most people never move past the first level, and that's why their growth stalls. But if you're willing to be deliberate, honest, and consistent, you can train your mind to work for you instead of against you. That's the foundation of real transformation. The first level is awareness **. It sounds simple, but it's the hardest place to start because it requires you to observe yourself **. Most people go through life without ever examining the thoughts running through their mind. Their internal world is filled with self, doubt, comparison, fear, overthinking, and assumptions. But they're so used to the noise that they mistake it for truth. Awareness breaks that illusion. It's the moment you pause and realize wait, where did that thought come from? Why am I thinking this way? Is this true, or is this just familiar? Once you begin to observe your thoughts without judgment, you gain the power to challenge them. This level is about stepping out of automatic thinking and into conscious observation. But awareness alone isn't enough. That leads you to the second level, intentionality **. This is where you begin to choose your thoughts. You don't just watch them pass by like clouds, you decide which ones to engage with, which ones to let go, and which ones to build on. You understand that not every thought deserves your belief. Some are lies, some are old programs, some are just reactions to fear. Intentional thinking means asking is this thought helping me? Is it aligned with the person I'm becoming? Is it moving me forward or holding me back? You stop entertaining thoughts that drain your energy or feed your insecurity. You replace I can't with I will figure it out. You replace this is too hard with this is my opportunity to grow. Intentionality turns thinking from a passive experience into a powerful tool. It's where discipline and clarity begin to shape your reality. Then comes the third and most powerful level, alignment **. This is when your thoughts begin to match your values, your vision, and your identity. You don't just think more clearly, you think in a way that's consistent with who you want to be. There's no more internal conflict between what you think and what you do, between what you believe and how you act. Your mind and your behavior are in sync. That's what creates momentum. That's what builds confidence. Aligned thinking means you know what matters to you, and you direct your thoughts to serve that mission. If your value is discipline, your thoughts support discipline. If your value is growth, your thinking becomes solution. Focused, not excuse. Focused. Alignment removes the friction of self, doubt, and indecision because your internal world is unified. These three levels, awareness, intentionality, and alignment, form a cycle. As you grow, you return to awareness at a deeper level. You become aware of more subtle patterns. You refine your intentionality. You expand your alignment as your vision evolves. Mastering your thinking isn't a one-time effort. It's a lifestyle. It's mental training every day. And the reward is enormous. You stop being a victim of your thoughts. You become the leader of your mind. You think with clarity, purpose, and direction. And from that kind of thinking, anything becomes possible. Most people stop at awareness. Some reach intentionality. Very few live in alignment. But those who do, they lead differently, they live differently, and they build differently. Because when your thinking is mastered, your life begins to follow suit. Your mind is no different than your body. It needs consistent training to grow stronger, sharper, and more resilient. Just like you wouldn't expect to get physically fit by going to the gym once a month, you can't expect mental strength from a mind that's never challenged or disciplined. The mind is a muscle, and if you don't train it intentionally every day, it becomes weak, reactive, and easily overwhelmed. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your actions, and your actions shape your future. So if you want to build a powerful life, it starts with building a powerful mind. Most people don't realize that their mindset is being trained every day, whether they mean to or not. Every time you let fear dictate your decision, you reinforce a habit of retreat. Every time you give in to distraction, you train your mind to avoid focus. Every time you complain instead of take ownership, you're practicing helplessness. The mind doesn't stay neutral. It's either growing or regressing, and what you repeatedly do, what you feed it, how you talk to yourself, how you respond to pressure becomes the default setting of your thinking. Training your mind doesn't mean avoiding negative thoughts. It means learning how to handle them. It means recognizing when your thoughts are working against you and choosing a stronger response. Mental strength is not about having perfect thoughts. It's about developing the skill to redirect your focus when your thoughts spiral. It's about staying grounded when everything around you is shaking. That kind of strength doesn't come from motivation. It comes from practice. Just like lifting weights, mental training starts with small reps. It starts with choosing discipline over comfort in the small, quiet moments of your day. When your alarm goes off and your mind says, "Hit snooze," the mental rep is getting up anyway. When a task feels boring or hard and your mind says, "Do it later," the rep is doing it now. These decisions may seem minor, but they build something major over time: mental endurance. And that endurance is what allows you to keep showing up even when life gets heavy. Mental training also involves learning how to sit with discomfort. In the gym, you grow by pushing through resistance. The same applies to the mind. When you face fear, uncertainty, failure, or rejection, those are your moments under the mental barbell. Will you collapse or will you lean in? Will you retreat or will you reframe? Strong minds don't avoid stress, they know how to navigate it without breaking. They don't seek comfort. They seek challenge because they understand that pressure is the pathway to growth. One of the most powerful ways to train your mind is through reflection. When you take time daily to evaluate your thoughts, your behaviors, and your patterns, you build self-awareness. That awareness is the foundation of change. You start to see where your thinking is leading you, and you adjust accordingly. You begin to think more intentionally, respond more thoughtfully, and live more purposefully. That's how you grow from reactive to proactive. Training your mind daily also means feeding it well. Just like your body needs good fuel, your mind needs positive, challenging, and insightful input. What you read, who you listen to, what conversations you have, it all matters. Surround yourself with voices that push you higher. Spend time in environments that challenge you to think deeper. Protect your mental space like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. In the end, mental strength isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill you build day by day, thought by thought, rep by rep, and the more you train it, the more unshakable you become. Life won't get easier, but you'll get stronger. You'll stop being controlled by every emotion, every doubt, every fear, and you'll start leading your life with clarity, discipline, and power. Because when your mind is strong, there's very little that can stop you. Correct thinking is not just a mental habit. It's the foundation behind every action, every choice, every result you experience in life. The way you think determines the way you see the world, and the way you see the world shapes how you move through it. Most people focus on changing what they do, hoping their life will improve, but real change starts with changing how you think. Because once your thinking shifts, your behavior follows. And when your behavior shifts, your life begins to transform from the inside out. Every decision you make is rooted in a thought. Whether it's starting a new project, ending a relationship, investing in yourself, or giving up on a goal, it all starts in your mind. If your thinking is reactive, fearful, or based on assumptions, your decisions will reflect that. You'll hesitate when you should act. You'll settle when you should stand up. You'll play small when you were meant to grow. But when your thinking is clear, constructive, and aligned with your values, your choices become intentional. You don't just react to life. You respond with clarity, courage, and conviction. Correct thinking affects your performance. In your work, your ability to solve problems, manage stress, and make progress is directly tied to the quality of your thinking. If your thoughts are filled with self-doubt, overthinking, or the need for perfection, you become paralyzed. But if your thoughts are focused on solutions, possibilities, and learning from mistakes, you become unstoppable. You start to see challenges as training grounds rather than roadblocks. You stop waiting for ideal conditions and start creating progress with what you have. Your relationships are also shaped by how you think. If your thinking is driven by insecurity or past pain, you'll struggle to trust others. You'll take things personally. You'll see threats where there are none. But when you think with awareness and intention, you begin to communicate more clearly. You listen better. You lead with empathy instead of ego. You stop trying to win arguments and start building understanding. That shift creates deeper connection, stronger trust, and more meaningful relationships. Correct thinking impacts your ability to lead not just others, but yourself. Leadership isn't about titles or positions. It's about influence. And you can't influence others if you can't direct your own mind. Leaders who don't think clearly make impulsive decisions, react emotionally, and struggle to inspire. But leaders who have trained their minds to be steady, thoughtful, and forward-focused create momentum. They earn trust, they see patterns others miss, they make people feel safe and driven at the same time. Even your emotional health is tied to how you think. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you interpret it. That interpretation, your thinking determines whether you spiral into frustration or rise with resilience. It determines whether you blame the world or take responsibility. People with weak thinking become prisoners of their circumstances. People with correct thinking become architects of their mindset, even in adversity. The truth is, nothing works without the right thinking behind it. Strategies fail when the thinking is flawed. Talents go unused when the thinking is small. Opportunities are missed when the thinking is distracted. But when your thinking is aligned with truth, purpose, and discipline, everything in your life begins to elevate. Your vision becomes clearer. Your goals become more reachable. Your actions gain power and direction. Correct thinking is not about always being right. It's about being real. It's about cutting through the noise of fear, ego, and old conditioning to think from a place of truth and intention. It's about developing the ability to pause, reflect, and choose the thought that serves you rather than the one that sabotages you. When you master your thinking, you stop living by accident and start living on purpose. And from that place, every part of your life, your performance, your relationships, your impact rises with you.